Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I am MK Jabintar. Today in this video I am giving you the knowledge about the second module of the subject Management and Entrepreneurship for IT Industry for 5th SEM CSC CBCS VTU students. I am dedicating this video to all the students all over the world. Now let us see Module 2 Directing and Controlling. Definition means issuance of orders and leading and motivating subordinates as they go about executing orders consists of the process and techniques utilized in issuing instructions and making certain that operations are carried on as originally planned. It is vital in managerial function is used to simulate action by using direction to his subordinates through orders and also supervise their work to ensure that the plans and policies achieve the desired actions and the results. To conclude, direction is the process of utilizing the technique in issuing instructions and making certain that operations are carried out on a originally planned. Requirements of principles of effective direction. First is harmony of objectives. The goal of its members must be in complete harmony with the goals of an organization. The manager must direct the subordinates in such a way that they perceive their goals to be in harmony with the enterprise objectives. For example, the company's profits may be associated with the employees' gains by giving additional bonus or promotion. Unity of command. The subordinates must receive orders and instructions from one supervisor only, the violation of which may lead to conflicting orders, divided loyalties, and decreased personal responsibility for results. Direction supervision. Every supervisor must maintain face-to-face contact with his subordinates, which boosts the morale of the employees, increase their loyalty, and provide them with feedback on how well they are doing. Efficient communication. Communication is an instrument of direction through which the supervisor gives orders, allocates jobs, and explains duties and ensures performance. Is a two-way process which enables the supervisor to know how his subordinates feel about the company and how the company feels on a number of issues concerning them. In communication, comprehension is more important than the content. Second one is follow through. Is an act of following through the whole performance of his subordinates to keep check on their activities, help them in their CAT, and point out deficiencies if any, and revise their direction if required. Leadership styles. The three leadership styles widely used: traits approach, behavioral approach, contingency approach. Traits approach. Trait is basically a character that deals with personal abilities and assumed to be the God's gift, and abilities are identified as mental and physical energy, emotional stability, knowledge of human relations, empathy, objectivity, personal motivation, communication skills, teaching ability, social skills, technical competence, friendliness and affection, integrity and faith, intelligence, etc. Trait approaches. Trait theories argue that leaders share a number of common personality traits and characteristics, and that leadership emerges from these traits. Early trait theories promoted the idea that leadership is innate, instinctive quality that you either have or don't have. Now we have moved on from this approach, and we are learning more about what we can do as individuals to develop leadership qualities within ourselves and others. Traits are external behaviors that emerge from things going on within the leader's mind, and it's these internal beliefs and processes that are important for effective leadership. Behavioral approach. Behavioral theories focus on how leaders behave. There are three types of leaders. First is autocratic leaders. Make decisions without consulting their teams. This is considered appropriate when decisions genuinely need to be taken quickly, when there is no need for input, and when team agreement is not necessary for a successful outcome. Democratic leaders allow the team to provide input before making a decision, although the degree of input can vary from leader to leader. This type of style is important when a team agreement matters, but it can be quite difficult to manage when there are lots of different perspectives and ideas. Laissez-faire leaders don't interfere. They allow people within the team to make many of decisions. This works well when the team is highly capable and motivated, and when it does not need close monitoring or supervision. However, this style can arise because leader is lazy or distracted, and here this approach can fail. Contingency approach: situation influencing good leadership. The realization that there is not one correct type of the leader led to theories that the best leadership style is contingent on or depends on the situation. These theories try to predict which leadership style is best in which circumstances. See the figure here. See the figures here. Order of priority of human needs begin with person's unsatisfied need at the lowest level. Identification of the need develops in the form of as goal, which leads to the fulfillment of the need to achieve the goal. These needs are arranged in the form of ladder of 5 successive categories as shown in the figure above. Physiological needs arise of the basic physiology of life, like the need for food, water, air, etc., which must be at least satisfied partially for continued survival. Security needs need to feel free from economic threat and physical harm, which need protection from arbitrary layoff and dismissal, disaster, and avoidance of the unexpected. Egoistic needs are the needs which relate to respect and prestige. The need for the dominance, for example, can be satisfied as self-esteem and esteem from others. Self-esteem is the need for worthiness of the oneself, and the esteem is the necessity to think others that he is worthy. Self-fulfillment needs are the needs to realize one's potential, that is, realizing one's own capabilities to the fullest for accomplishing what one is capable of to the fullest. Example, a musician must make music, etc. According to Maslow, people attempt to satisfy their physical needs first. As long as the needs are unsatisfied, they dominate, and after they become reasonably satisfied and progress to the next level, and so on. Herzberg's two-factor theory. Original study based on the research by Frederick and Herzberg, who interviewed 200 engineers and accountants and were asked about the good times and bad times they think about their jobs. Out of these interviews, 2 factors emerged called the maintenance factors, motivators, or satisfiers. Maintenance factors: Factor 1, fair company policy, policies and administration. A supervisor who knows the work, a good relationship with one supervisor, a good relationship with one's peer, a good relationship with one's subordinates. A fair salary, job security, personal life, good working conditions, status. Motivators are satisfiers. Factor 2, opportunity to accomplish something significant, recognition for significant achievements, chance for advancement, opportunity to grow and develop on the job, chance for increased responsibility, the job itself. Some facts about the 2 factors. Motivators are job centered. Maintenance factors are related working conditions and environmental conditions. These 2 groups of factors are also known as intrinsic and extrinsic rewards. These 2 sets of factors are unidirectional. McClelland's need for achievement theory. According to McClelland, there are three important needs: the need for affiliation, the need for power, the need for achievement. Need for affiliation reflects desire to interact socially with people concerned about the quality of an important personal relationship. The need for power, a person having a high need for power tries to exercise the power and authority concerned with influencing others and winning arguments. The need for achievements in act has three distinct characteristics. Preference in setting moderately difficult but potentially achievable goals, doing most things himself rather than getting them done by others, and willing to take personal responsibility for his success or failure and does not want to hold responsible for it. Seeking situations where concrete feedback is possible. Victor Room's expectancy theory work under conditions of the free choice where an individual is motivated towards activity which he is most capable of rendering and which he believes has the highest probability of leading to his most preferred goal. The basic concept of this theory are first and second level outcomes. Job related goals before an individual such as promotion, increase in salary, recognition and praise and so on are called second level outcomes. So each second level outcome can be associated with a value called balance for each individual. The balance can be positive, negative or zero. Balance positive, individual wants to attain promotion. Balance negative, does not want to attain promotion. Balance zero, outcome towards which he is indifferent. Second level outcome can be achieved in different ways. Promotion by leaving the organization, by absenting himself to show dissatisfaction, by joining a pressure group, by attending a training program or developing intimacy with the boss, by bribing somebody, by improving performance or by bribing somebody and so on. Instrumentality. All first level outcomes have equal probability of leading the individual to the second level outcome. The individual has subjective estimates of these probabilities ranging from -1 to +1, which are called instrumentalities. -1 indicates a belief that a second level outcome is certain without the first level outcome. 0 indicates a belief that a second level outcome is impossible without a first level outcome. 1 indicates a belief that a second level outcome is certain with first level outcome. These instrumentalities are helpful in determining the valence of each first level outcome. The valence of each first level outcome is the summation of all products achieved by multiplying its instrumentalities with the related valences of the second level outcomes. 3. Expectancy. It is the probability estimate which joins the individual's effort to first level outcome. Expectancy values are always positive, ranging from 0 to 1. Motivation. Motivation is the multiplicative function of the valence of each first level outcome. Fourth, and they believe expectancy that given effort will be followed by a particular first level outcome, that is M is equal to F of VI star E. Adams equity theory. In this theory, equity is defined as the ratio between the individual's job inputs such as effort, skill, experience, education and seniority to the job rewards such as pay or promotion. It is believed that the individual's motivation, performance and satisfaction will depend on her subjective evaluation of his or her effort or reward ratio, and the effort or reward ratio of the others is similar situations. Skinner's behavior modification theory. The theory developed by the researchers done by the B.F. Skinner. The theory is believed and based on the behavior of the past circumstances which they have learnt that the certain behaviors associated with pleasant outcomes and certain other behaviors are associated with unpleasant outcomes. Example, obedience to authority leads to praise and disobedience leads to punishment. The consequences that increase the frequency of behavior are positive reinforcement, praise or monetary rewards, or negative enforcement. A manager requiring all subordinates to attend early morning meetings if the performance falls below a certain desired level of the organization. Negative of the above theory proposed avoids concern for the inner motivation of the individual. Skinner's behavior modification theory is criticized for two reasons. Over emphasis of extrinsic rewards ignores the fact that people are better motivated by intrinsic rewards. The theory is unethical. No manager has a right to manipulate and control his employees' behavior life. Now let us see communication. Communication means exchange of opinions, facts, ideas or emotions by two or more persons. The sum of all things what one does to create an understanding in the minds of others is the process of passing information, correct understanding and with right interpretation from one person to another. Nature of communication. It is a two-way traffic. Messages, directions, opinions, etc. are communicated downwards from management to workers. Likewise, grievances, complaints, opinions, point of view, etc. are communicated upward from workers to management. Communication is pervasive function. Communication is required not only in the direction function but in all functions of management like planning, organizing, staffing, directing, controlling. Communication is a continuous process. Communication is a regular process, just like blood circulation in a human body. An organization cannot exist without communication. Communication aims at developing mutual understanding and cooperative human relationship towards the achievement of the organizational objectives. Purpose of communication. Flow of information. The relevant information must flow from top to bottom and vice versa. The staff at all levels must be kept informed about the organizational objectives and other development taking place in the organization. Coordination. It is through communication the efforts of all the staff working in the organization can be coordinated for the accomplishment of the organizational goals. Learning management skills. The communication facilitates flow of information, ideas, beliefs, perception, advice, opinion, orders and instructions, etc. both ways, which enable the managers and the other supervisory staff to learn managerial skills through experience of others. Preparing people to accept change. The proper and effective communication is an important tool in the hands of management of any organization to bring about overall change in organizational policies, procedures and work style and make staff to accept and respond positively. Developing good human relations. Management and workers and other staff exchange their ideas, thoughts and perceptions with each other through communication. This helps to understand each other better. They realize the difficulties faced by their colleagues at the workplace. This leads to promotion of a good human relation in the organization. Ideas of subordinates encouraged. The communication facilitates inviting and encouraging the ideas from subordinates on certain occasions on any task. This will develop creative thinking. Importance of communication. The importance of communication rose from the fact that earlier business was considered only a technical and formal structure. But the Hawthorne's experiment, it was realized that every organization requires a structure is a social system involving the interactions of the people working at different levels, and proper communication is required to the goals of organization existence from the birth to continuing. Coordination of activities. The manager explains to the employees organizational goals, modes of achieving it. This requires coordination between various employees and also departments through communication. Top level interact lower level and all employees. This interaction help in getting the commitment, cooperation and coordination of the people. Improves planning and decision making. Source of information for planning. Proper communication provide information to the manager that is useful for decision making. No decision could be taken in the absence of information. Decision solves any query. Accurate information which comes through communication only. Connect geographically dispersed employees. The internet, emails, mobiles, telephones, video conferencing etc. helps to create a virtual team. Increases managerial efficiency. The manager convey the target and issues instructions and allocates a job to the subordinates. All these aspects involves communication. Thus communication is essential for the quick and effective performance of the manager and entire organization. Maintaining a good public relationship. Communicate with media on organization issues, press release, press conference, open houses. Means to motivate people through motivation. Superior try to analyze the need of subordinates. If there is a smooth flow of information between superior and subordinates, then easy for superior to recognize which type of the incentive will motivate his subordinate. Coordination in the order is the orderly synchronization or fitting together of the independent efforts of individual to attain a common goal. For example, in hospital, the proper synchronization of the activities of the nurses, doctors, wards, attendants and lab technicians to give a good care to the patient can be considered as an essential part of all managerial functions of planning, organizing, directing and directing. If the manager performs these functions efficiently and expertly, coordination is automatically generated and there remains no need for special coordination. Coordination is required at every level of all managerial functions. In planning, performs his function of planning by coordination of the interrelating the plans of various departments. In organizing, coordination is required in grouping and various activities to subordinates and in creating departments. In directing, coordination is required to take effect of his particular action will be on other departments and executives. In controlling, coordination is required. Manager evaluates operations and checks whether performance is in conformity with the desired results. Techniques of coordination. The following are important techniques of coordination. Rules, procedures and policies helps in coordinating these sub units in the performance of their repetitive activities. Standard policies, procedures and policies are laid down to cover all possible situations. If the breakdown of the above occur, more rules, regulations are required to be framed to take care of the breakdown. Planning ensures coordinated effort and targets of each department dovetail with the regards of all other departments. Example, fixing the target of the 10,000 units of additional production, and consequently the sales requires the coordination of the two departments respectively to meet the demand and achieve the target. Hierarchy is the simplest device of achieving the coordination by hierarchy or chain of the command by putting together independent units under one boss. Some coordination among their activities is achieved. Some defective because makes individual dependent upon passive towards and subordinates to the leader. Direct contact used to solve the problems created at the lower levels which affects the employees can be resolved by formal informal contacts to prevent overloading to the top executives. Task force. Temporary group made up of representatives from the same department facing problems and exists as long as the problems lasts and each participant return to normal tasks once the solution is reached. Committee arise due to the fact when certain decision consistently become permanent. These groups are labeled committees. This device greatly ease the rigidity of the hierarchical structure, promotes effective communication and understanding of ideas, encourages the acceptance of the commitment to policies, and make implementation more effective. Induction of a new employee is a social setting of his work is also a coordinating mechanism. The device familiarizes the new employee with organization's rules and regulations, dominant norms and behavior, values and beliefs, and integrates his personal goals with organizational goals. Indoctrination device commonly used in the religious and military organizations is another coordinating device which develops this desire to work together for a purpose. The major task of the leader being to build an organization can be succeeded by the indoctrination and other means by converting the neutral body into a committed body. Incentives providing independent units with an incentive to collaborate, such as profit sharing plan in another mechanism. Liaison department evolved to handle transactions and typically occur between the sales and production departments. Workflow is the sequence of steps by which the organization acquires input and transforms them into outputs and exports these to the environmental, which is largely shaped by the technological, economic and social considerations and helps them in coordination. Importance of coordination. Unity in diversity. Every large org has a large number of employees, each with and background view or opinion activities. Therefore, there are diversity activities in an org. However, all these activities would not be highly effective in the absence of coordination. Unity of direction. As org needs to integrate the efforts and skills of the different employees in order to achieve common objectives. Coordination also eliminates duplication of the work, leading to cost efficient operations. Encouragement of team spirit. In an org, there exist many conflicts between employees, departments, etc. Coordination encourages people and departments to work as one big team and achieve the common objectives of the org. Fundamental differentiation. An org has many departments or sections performing different functions. All these functions are important for achieving the overall goals of the organization. If all departments work in isolation from the others, then they might not work in tandem. Therefore, coordination is essential for integrating the functions. Optimum utilization of resources. Primarily, coordination ensures that employees do not engage in cross-purpose work, since it brings together the human and material resources of the org, therefore less wastage of resources. Grow in size. Large organizations has large number of employees, they have different habits, behavior and approaches in a particular situation. Many time they won't work in harmony, hence coordination is important. Specialization. One person's specialization may be unknown by the other employee, that leads to misunderstanding. Coordination play a major role in bringing them together. Empire building refers to the top level of organization. It is important to achieve coordination among top level and subordinates. Controlling consists of verifying whether everything occurs in the conformities with the plans adopted, instructions issued and principles established. Controlling ensures that there is effective and efficient utilization of organizational resources so as to achieve the planned goals. Controlling is an important function of management. It verifies that all the allocated tasks are being performed on time. Controlling ensures that activities in an organization are performed as per the plans. Controlling also ensures that an organization's resources are being used effectively and efficiently for the achievement of the predetermined goals. It is a function that brings back the management cycle back to the planning function. Nature and purpose of control. Control is an essential function of management. Control is an ongoing process. Control is forward working because past cannot be controlled. Control involves measurement. The essence of control is action. Control is an integrated system. Control process steps in controlling. The basic control process involves mainly these steps as shown in the figure. See the figure here. The establishment of standards, because plans are the yardsticks against which controls must be revised. If it follows logically that the first step in the control process would be to accomplish plans. Plans can be considered as the criterion or the standards against which we compare the actual performance in order to figure out the deviations. Measurement of performance. The measurement of performance against standards should be on a forward-looking basis so that deviations may be detected in advance by appropriate actions. The degree of difficulty in measuring various types of organizational performance, of course, is determined primarily by the activity being measured. For example, it is far more difficult to measure the performance of the highway maintenance worker than to measure the performance of a student enrolled in a college level management course. Comparing measured performance to stated standards. When managers have taken a measure of organizational performance, their next step is controlling is to compare this measure against some standard. A standard is the level of activity established to serve as a model for evaluating organizational performance. The performance evaluated can be for the organization as a whole or for some individual working within the organization. In essence, standards are the yardsticks that determine whether organizational performance is adequate or inadequate. Taking corrective actions. After actual performance has been measured compared with established performance standards, the next step is in the controlling process is to take corrective action if necessary. Corrective action is a managerial activity aimed at bringing organizational performance up to the level of performance standards. In other words, corrective action focuses on correcting organizational mistakes that hinder organizational performance. Before taking any corrective action, however, managers should make sure that the standards they are using were properly established and that their measurements of organizational performance are valid and reliable. Follow-ups. After taking corrective actions, management must do follow-up. Follow-up is done to find out whether corrective actions are taken properly. It also to find out whether deviations and their causes are removed. If follow-up is done properly, the actual performance will be equal or better than established standards. Methods of establishing control. Various methods are used by management for controlling the various deviations in the organization. Traditional techniques: personal observation, statistical reports, break-even analysis, budgetary control. Modern techniques: return on investment, responsibility accounting, management audit, PERT, CPM, management information system, internal audit. Traditional techniques: personal observation. Personal observation enables the manager to collect first hand information. It also creates a psychological pressure on the employee to perform well, as they are aware that they are being observed personally on their job. Under this technique, manager notes the actual performance of an employee. Then the manager decides whose performance is weak and how to improve it. However, it is a very time consuming exercise and cannot effectively be used in all kinds of jobs. Statistical reports. Statistical analysis is the form of averages, percentages, ratios, etc. present useful information to the managers regarding performance of the organization in various areas. Such information is present in the form of the charts, graphs, tables, etc. enables the managers to read them more easily. It allows a comparison to be made with performance in previous periods and also with the benchmarks. Break-even analysis is a technique used by managers to study the relationship between cost, volume, profits. It determines the portability, profit and losses at different levels of activity. The sales volume at which there is no profit, no loss is known as break-even point. Break-even point is determined by the intersection of total revenue and total cost curves. It is beyond this point that the firm will start earning profits. It is a useful technique for the managers as it helps in estimating profits at different levels of activities. See the figure here. Now let us see budgetary control. It is a technique of managerial control in which all operations are planned in advance in the form of budgets. The actual results are then compared with the budgetary standards. This comparison tells us what necessary action is required. Different types of budgets are sales budget, production budget, research and development budget, advertising budget. Modern techniques: return on investment. Ratios of net profit to the total investment employed in the business is termed as return on investment, generally expressed as the percentage. Total ROI is equal to profit divided by total investment. Using this percentage of profit is identified. If ROI is high, then the financial performance of a business is good. It helps to compare its present performance with that of the previous year's performance and also helps for inter-firm comparisons. It also shows the areas where corrective actions are needed. Responsibility accounting. It is defined as the system of accounting under which each department head is made responsible for the performance of his department. Each department is made a profit center. Profit center manager is responsible for both revenue and cost incurred. Investment center is responsible not only for profit but also for the investments. Example, small start-up company. Management audit. It is helpful in identifying the deficiencies in the performance of management functions and suggesting possible improvements. It helps in management to handle the operation effectively. 8th is PERT, Program Evaluation and Review Technique. This was developed during 1957 to 58 for USA Navy. A project is split into activities and all the activities are integrated in a highly logical sequence to find the shortest time required to complete the entire project. PERT was created primarily to handle R&D projects. Critical path method CPM. This concentrates mainly on cost rather than duration like PERT. The use of both PERT and CPM has grown rapidly today in controlling time-bound projects. such as repairing a weak bridge, construction of a huge building. This technique also follows the principle of PERT, that is, critical activities are identified. More importance is given to the completion of these critical activities. Management information system. In order to control the organization properly, the management needs accurate computer based information. They need information about the internal working of the organization and also about the external environment. Information collected continuously to identify problems and find out solutions. MIS collects data, processes it and provides it to the managers so that appropriate corrective action may be taken in case of deviations from standards. In internal audit is conducted by an internal auditor who is an employee of an organization. He makes an independent appraisal of financial and other operations. He identifies the defects and deviations and reports to the management. Essential sound control systems. Feedback, objective, simple, prompt reporting, forward looking, flexible, economical, effective and operational motivation. Feedback is the process of adjusting future actions. Objective feedback is a process of adjusting future actions. Objective control system should be objective and understandable. Prompt reporting control system should provide prompt and timely report without any delay so that a necessary corrective action can be taken. Forward looking effective control system must focus on how the future action meet the plans. Simple control system should be simple and easy to implement. Flexible standards will be altered time to time, hence the control system should be flexible. Economical, the benefits from the control system should be more than the cost. Effective and operational. Control system should not only detect the deviations but it should provide a solution to the problem. Motivation. A good control system should motivate people to achieve high performance.